Yeah, that's good. Okay, so this is the first lecture. We're going to be carrying on next week with what we call hidden surface removal. Now, the first sort of concept we're going to be looking at is something called backface culling. There are 4 sort of concepts. We're going to be looking at all of them over this week and next week. January 2015, no, I've got the year wrong. Okay. Just to remind you of the pipeline. So these are the set of processes which we go through to go from the primitive objects in your virtual world right the way through to what we display on the screen. Now, up to now, in the lectures, we've gone up to the clipped screen space. So we've clipped everything to our unit cube. Okay. Next thing we need to do is what we call remove hidden surfaces. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so that's where we're up to. Okay, that's our village after clipping. Okay, actually, I've got a better. I think I've got a better one to show you than that. Right. There we go. So this is sort of like your assignment 6 as well. That's like a helicopter view going around it. So that's our virtual world. You'll see some of the buildings at the back start to disappear because they're going over the back viewing plane. Okay, and then they come in. Right, but these look wireframe. We can see through them. They look very transparent. What we want is for them to look solid. Solid as in opaque, not solid as in good. Okay, I do explain that last year, people. Right, so that's the clipping. So what we want is to make our objects look solid. Here's an example. Here's one of your assignments. So this is what I want you to do the assignment. I want you to draw or plot this 3D object. That's called Newell's Teapot. I'll give you the vertices. Don't worry, I'm not expecting you to calculate all that. I'll give you the vertices and the polygon link list for that. What I want you to do is make this teapot look solid. Now the one on the right, sorry, the one on the left looks transparent. The one on the right is solid. They're the same object. Okay, they're exactly the same object. That one just looks a lot better. It looks like solid. So that's what hidden surfaces is about. This particular teapot, I think I've mentioned it a few times. It's called the Utah Teapot, named after the university where it was first sort of suggested. Just a bit of a background behind the Utah Teapot. Early 70s, graphics pioneer Martin Newell needed a 3D object to use as a test object for his algorithms. Okay, and he wanted an object which was quite, not just like a sphere, he wanted something which was multiply connected, had a hole in it. Okay, so he decided to use his teapot. And it's become a bit of a sort of in-joke in the graphics community. So it's appeared in Toy Story, and it's also appeared in The Simpsons and various other places. I think it's in Star Wars Episode 3. I don't know if you've ever seen that. You ever seen Star Wars Episode 3? At the beginning of it, you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. They're in like this battle, and there's debris flying everywhere. And apparently, one of the debris is flying the Utah Teapot. So it's something which is used as a standard reference object, but it's quite useful. Right, we're going to be looking at 4 main methods. So all of these methods are used to remove these hidden surfaces. And they're all used in conjunction with each other. There's no sort of one main method we use. Okay, they've all got their usages, they've all got particular times when we use them. Okay, so don't think, oh, this one's a better method than this one. They all tend to be used. Okay, we will cover backface culling, which is assignment 8, which is going to be this lecture. Painter's algorithm, if you want to sort of get a higher mark on assignment 8, you could then try and do Painter's algorithm. Z buffer, which is another method. I won't be asking you to do anything for the assignment on that. And next week, we'll be looking at something called binary space partitioning, which is assignment 9. This tends to be students' favourite one. Okay, when they first see it, they think, what the hell is that? After they know how to do it, it's kind of quite easy and quite straightforward and quite nice. Right, so this week we'll be doing the first 3. I keep getting an electric shock. Okay, I just want to remind you of the normal vector because hidden surface removal relies upon the normal vector. Now, any polygon, or any plane, sorry, in space has two normal vectors associated with it. Okay, so for example, if we had this screen, one of the normal vectors would be pointing perpendicularly away in your direction, the other would be pointing in the opposite direction. Now, with graphics, we need to have a unique unit vector. Okay, so for every polygon in our world space, we need that to have a unique unit vector. So what we do is we assume the polygon, we assume the vertices are expressed in anti-clockwise order. That means the normal vector will be pointing towards you as you're viewing the polygon. Okay, so for example, here we have a polygon. So this is expressed in anti-clockwise order as I'm viewing at the front face of the polygon. So if I'm looking down on top of it, I'm looking down, it'll be in anti-clockwise order. The normal vector would be pointing towards you. And of course, you know we can use the cross product. Okay, so if A and B are two vectors which are the differences between sequential vertices. So if A is V2 minus V1, so that's that vector, and B is V3 minus V2, which is that vector. If we cross product them, we get the normal. If we were to do it in the other direction, clockwise direction, the normal will be facing the other way. So we want the normal to be facing towards us. So this is how we calculate the normal vector. Now that's important because with backface culling, a polygon has a front and a back face. Okay, so imagine you've got a polygon, you paint one side of it red, and the other side you leave white. Okay, imagine you're looking at the red side, you say, okay, that's the front face. If you look at the white side, that's the back face. And this is where backface culling comes in. Okay, so imagine it like this. So here's your eye, and I've called it P, because sort of viewing position or something like that. And here I've got two polygons. The one on top is front facing to you because you could see the front face of it. In other words, its normal vectors pointing at you. This one on the bottom is back facing because the normal vector is pointing away from your eye. Okay, so that's front and back facing. When we build our virtual worlds, we've got to make sure that, for example, if we have walls which can be viewed from both sides, we need more than one polygon to actually construct that wall. Okay, so if you have a building in a virtual world which you can go into the building, you need polygons which consist of the interior walls, and then when you go outside of the building, you need polygons for the exterior, and they've got to point in different directions. Okay, so that's something, I mean, that's not something we're too concerned with, but if you were building a virtual world, that's what you have to take into account. If you have closed objects, ones which you never get to see inside, you want all of your normal vectors pointing outside, away from the center. Okay, so backface culling is simply sort of explained by this diagram. So imagine we have this hexagonal closed object, and I'm viewing it from the left-hand side, at P. The only, if it was a closed object and it was opaque, the only sides or polygons I'd be able to see are A, B, and C. Okay, they're the front-facing polygons. D, E, and F are back-facing. I wouldn't be able to see them. Okay. Anybody tell me what's on the other side of that whiteboard? You can't see. Okay, so what backface culling does is totally ignores any back-facing polygons. It just removes them from any calculation from here on in. How do I know what's front and what's back-facing? Okay, so here I've got two polygons. I called it A and B. Okay, and you determine what's the center of polygon A and the center of polygon B, and you know their normal vectors. Well, if I draw a line from my eye through the center of the polygon, and I call that the V, so that's a viewing vector. Okay, the angle between that vector V and the normal vector theta is greater than pi over 2. Okay, so that angle theta is greater than 90 degrees. So for a front-facing polygon, theta is greater than pi over 2. Let's do the same for a back-facing polygon, and you can see theta is less than pi over 2. Okay. So we use the angle theta to determine front or back-facing. Well, actually, even better than that, if you remember, the dot product is related to the angle between two vectors. So if I have two vectors v and n, their dot product is defined by the magnitude of v times the magnitude of n times by the cosine and the angle between them. Now when cosine pi over 2 is 0, okay, so if theta is greater than pi over 2, cos theta is negative. When theta is less than pi over 2, cos theta is positive. So what this means is if v dot n is less than or equal to 0, what, front-facing polygon? Front-facing? Yes, because that, if v dot n is less than or equal to 0, that would imply that theta was greater than pi over 2. Okay, so if v dot n is less than 0, we have a front-facing polygon. And this is the method. Okay, this is the algorithm. So what you do is you look for every polygon in your virtual world. So this is after clipping, so you've got rid of a view when you've clipped. So all the remaining polygons you've got, you loop through them all. And you calculate the normal vector to the current polygon. You calculate the center. You calculate the viewing vector, which is the center minus wherever the viewpoint is. Well, P would be at the origin, wouldn't it? You've already aligned your world to the viewing vector. P would be the origin, but that's, you know, so it'll be C minus 0. And you find the dot product between your viewing vector and that normal for that polygon. If that dot product is less than 0, you render that current polygon. If it's greater than 0, you just ignore it and move to the next one. So that's back-face culling. And that's what your assignment is. Okay, I'll give you the Teapot vertices. Okay, I'll give you them. It's up to you to be able to write a program which can plot the polygons and furthermore detect any polygons which are back-facing and just ignore them. Now the one on the right is, imagine sort of the viewer is sort of over here somewhere on the left, looking at the teapot. Okay, the viewer doesn't see the back of the teapot, and he doesn't even know it's not there. So what I mean by that is, see if this still works. So there's your teapot. Okay, looks solid. Okay, if I turn it round, there was just nothing on the back. Okay, so from where I was viewing it before, you wouldn't know about there. You wouldn't know, but then the whole of the back of the teapot isn't there. Okay, and that's using back-face culling. Okay, so if I just zoom it round, you can see it sort of. There's a bit of a rim there, which is sort of front-facing, but it's sort of cut the number of polygons I have in half. Okay. Right. So what I've got for you now is a short activity to do, which will probably take us up to the break for the first sort of half of this lecture. The first half of this session. Okay. Right, this is another one of my activities. Get used to these because I don't like you just sat there in lectures doing nothing. Okay, so what I've got here is I've drawn a pyramid. Pretty much made it up. There's no sort of nothing special about it. And for each vertex of the pyramid, I've given the world space coordinates. Okay, so what I want you to do is, given a viewpoint which is at 5, 2, 10, and assume that all normal vectors are pointing away from the centre of the pyramid, determine which of the polygons that construct the sides of the pyramid are front or back facing. So for each polygon, I'm going to calculate the centre of the polygon, I'm going to calculate the normal vector, and determine whether it's front or back facing. Well, while doing this, I mean, there's one thing about these type of wireframe pictures. It depends what angle you're seeing it from. I'm seeing it like sort of, if the base is a square, I'm looking at it from above the base. There is another perspective, given the 3D, where you're actually looking at it from underneath. So it's quite tricky. So what I'm saying is, I'm looking at it so that this base, which is square, I'm above that. I don't know whether you can get what I say from that. There's two ways of looking at it. Okay, so let's look at this front triangle. So I'm going to call it front. So I'm going to look at the front triangle first. First thing I need to do is calculate its centre. And the easiest way to calculate the centre of a triangle is to average the vertices. Okay, polygon centroids are actually quite tricky to calculate, which is why in graphics applications we tend to stick to triangles as much as possible. Okay, so calculate the centre of the polygon. So we've got 3 plus 7 plus 5 is 15. 3 plus 3 plus 5 is 11. And 2 plus 2 plus 7, that's also 11. So the centre of the front polygon is, well, those are the coordinates. Okay, what about the normal vector? Okay, well, the normal vector, let's take, if we're looking at this is the front vector, the normal vector of the front will be this coordinate minus this one. So 7 minus 3 is, actually I'll do it long ways. Cross product with this point minus this point. Okay, so do you see that? So I've got a vector along there, and I've got a vector along there. I'm going to cross product them. Doing it in that order ensures that the normal vector is facing away from the front side. So what have we got? We've got 4, 0, 0. Cross product with minus 2, 2, 5. Some people can just look at vectors and cross product them. I have to calculate a determinant. Well, I'd be daft not to expand along that one. Actually, I'll do it. So for I, it's 0i. So if we block out first row, first column, we've got 0 times 5 minus 2 times 0. 0i plus 4 times 5 minus 2 times 0, so that's minus 20j. The k, it's just 4 times 2. Or if you prefer, it's a 3 tuple. 0 minus 20 and 8. Okay, that's your normal vector. Viewing vector is c minus t. So c was 1/3, 15, 11, 11, minus p, which is 5, 2, and 10. So that's 1/3 of 15 is 5 minus 5 is 0. 11 over 3 minus 2. So that's going to be 11 over 3. So that's going to be 11 minus 6. It's going to be 5 over 3. And 11 over 3 minus 10. So it's going to be minus 19 over 3. If you prefer to work in decimal, please do so. Doesn't really matter. Okay, let's see what v dot n is. So v dot n is v dot 0 minus 28. So we've got 0 times 0, so that's ignored. Minus 20, minus 100 over 3. And minus 19 times 8. What's that going to be? 80, 72, 152 over 3. Which is minus 252 over 3. Okay, so that's negative. V dot n is negative. What does that mean? What does that mean in terms for that face which we were just looking at? Is it facing towards us or is it facing away? Who thinks it's towards? I can see one hand. Who thinks it's away then, so it messes everyone else? Okay. Well, if v dot n is negative, it means it's front facing, so it's facing towards us. Just to remind you. Oops. So it's from this one. Okay. If this one up here, this is obviously facing towards us. The angle between the viewing vector n is greater than pi over 2. Well, cos theta is positive for angles less than pi over 2 and negative for angles greater than pi over 2. So if you dot product v and n and it's negative, you got a front facing polygon. Okay, I think we've got time for one more of those. Run out of paper though. Okay, I know you can't. I know I've got a few spares, but just sort of use a scrap piece of paper or another piece of paper. Okay, so that's front. Let's try a different face. Let's try the base this time. Now, the reason I've chosen the base is because it's quite tricky to actually calculate the normal vector. Because remember, we want the normal vector to be facing away. Oops, sorry. We want the normal vector to be facing away from the centre of the pyramid. Okay, right. So if I'm all about the base now. Sorry. I cringed as soon as I said that. Sorry. Right. The centre of the base is just going to be, well, let's assume it's a quarter of all of the base coordinates. Okay, so just add them all up. So 3 plus 7 is 10. 3 plus 7 is 10, so 20. 3 plus 3, 13, 20. 2, 2, 2, 2 is 8. Okay, so centre is at 5, 5, and 2. I should have realised that. Looks like it's a square which is parallel to the x and z axes. Okay, now the normal vector. Now you've got to be careful here. I want the normal vector to point down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is imagine in this time you're actually looking underneath this base. You sort of get what I'm saying by that? Okay, so I'm looking underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that one away from that one, and that one away from that one. Okay, so we've got 7, 3, 2 minus 3, 3, 2. Cross product is 7, 7, 2. Is that correct? Oh, well, we'll see in a minute. 7, 3, 2. So what we got? We got 4, 0, 0. Cross product 0, 4, 0. Zero J, 0 and just K. I've got 16, but I want it pointing down. So I'm going to say that's minus 16. I cheated a bit there. Okay, that actually comes out as plus 16, but I did it in the wrong order. Actually, that's no good, is it? I can't do that. Okay, so let's say that's minus n, therefore n is equal to 0, 0. That happens quite regularly. You end up doing all the calculations, you're like, oh, damn it, it's pointed in the wrong direction. So you just multiply it by minus 1. Okay. So that's what happens when you do it the wrong way around the polygon. You get the normal vector pointing the other way. I wanted it to be pointed down. Okay, so we've got C, we've got N, we need V now. So V is C minus P. So that's 5, 5, 2 minus 5, 2, 10. 0, 3, minus 8. Okay, so that's our viewing. That's where we are looking at the center of the base polygon. Okay, so do the dot product between V and N. Or N and V, doesn't matter, it's commutative. Okay, so we've got 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 3, 0, minus 6 times minus 8, 144. That's positive. So what does that mean? What if n dot v is positive? We're looking at the front or back face. Back face. So that's back facing. So we would ignore that, which makes sense because our P is somewhere floating above the pyramid. So the base is facing away from us, so it's back facing. So it's quite a bit of work. You have to calculate the center, calculate the normal vector, calculate the viewing vector, dot product the normal with the viewing. If it's negative, it's front facing. If it's positive, it's back facing. And that's all you have to do on assignment 8. So I know you can't see this at the moment. Just bring up assignment 8. Okay, so just sort of go forward a bit. I basically showed you how to do assignment 8 there. So question 1 is, I've got tetrahedron. Tetrahedron is essentially a pyramid but with a triangular base. And I've given you the vertices of the tetrahedron and the polygon link list. So remember with this, what this means is the first polygon link is defined by the vertices 1, 2, 3. The second polygon is defined by vertices 2, 4, and 3 in that order. So if it's in that order, it means the normal vector will be pointed in the correct direction. Determine which sides are front and which sides are back facing. Assignment 2, write a MATLAB function. I'll give you the I'll give you the link list and coordinates in a file called teapot.mat. Okay, and write a program to loop through each polygon and test whether it's front or back facing. Part 2 is plot it with all polygons. Part 3 is amend it so it's front facing. I'll talk a bit more about that next week. Okay, do you reckon halfway point? Yeah. Okay, I'll give you. Do you want to make it back here by 22? Or would that be okay? Yeah. And then after the break, we'll look at the next couple of methods.